a little bit different today. Not something I thought I would be doing, but yeah, I wanted to do a live stream basically with CenterStage with the iPad Pro in some way, shape, or form. And I just want to make sure it's working. That's why I'm waiting for a second. Wait, why does it say an error occurred? That's not right. An error occurred. Are you guys seeing this? Wonder why it doesn't want to show up on my end. Ignore me. Hey, can you guys see me? Let me know if you can hear and see me and if the stuff is in sync, because on the browser, it's like acting up. It's just, okay, people are saying yes. That's funny that on Safari, it's like, oh, I can't see this. No problem. Yeah, we can see and hear you. Good. Good. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you guys helping me out. I'll send out a tweet for whatever reason. My browser doesn't show it. CenterStage is working. Oh, sorry. There's so many people live right now. Jeez, I didn't know. We can sense you fully. That's what I'm going for. For whatever reason, every time I try to bring it up here on my desktop, it doesn't want to react. So as long as I guess as long as you guys can see me, we're good. Maybe I should try it in a different browser. But yeah, there's so many fun little tricks with CenterStage that's like awesome to play around with. Let me bring it up. Okay, yeah, I can see it working. I got it working now. I wish it would give me more. Chrome seems to work. Sorry, guys. I know you don't want me to use Chrome, but I opened Chrome and now it works. Simply Pops, how goes it? Let me do a pop-out chat so I can see more messages at once. So, okay, now that we're here, now that we got a few people tuning in. Good morning! Good morning, Tailosive Tech! I'm so excited to demonstrate CenterStage for you today. CenterStage is available on both of the 2021 iPad Pros. This allows us to walk around as if we were on a stage, and it turns the iPad into my own dedicated cameraman. Cameraman and employees are expensive, and we don't like wasting money here at Tailosive Tech. So that's why we decided to go ahead, invest ourselves in an M1 iPad Pro. Yes, you will be able to get the 11-inch iPad Pro for substantially cheaper than the mini LED version. But I'm not too broke of a boy, so that allows us to take advantage of CenterStage and walk around my glorious, messy office that I did somewhat clean, despite what you may think. Should I get a 2021 iPad Pro 12.9-inch or 11-inch? Well, this feature is only on both of them. So what do you think is worth it at the end of the day? CenterStage is 10 out of 10. I think so. I think so. My favorite feature, you guys haven't even seen the best part. Thankfully, I have been toying around with this. I have figured out some of its limitations, some of its flaws. But one thing I definitely wanted to show you guys, as you are all watching now, and I can get around and go down. You can see pretty far that way too. Now you can see all the messy boxes, but okay. So if I go over here, hey, Chris Norton, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. If I go over here and I reach the end of the ultra wide camera and it's like, oh no, where did Drew go? All right, if I stay out of frame just for a little bit, it decides to go back to its original centered view. All right, and it doesn't track motion. So even if my hand is in the angle, it won't track my hand. It looks for a head, specifically a head. So now, if I may be so bold and very sneaky, you guys don't know where I am, do you? I like when it finds me. Well, hold on. Let me move this up a bit so I can hide behind it a little bit better. Kyle Pine, thank you for the super chat. CenterStage does work really well. I just love playing around with it like this. So I come to the edge where you can't see me anymore. Oh wait, maybe I go like this. You don't see me. You can't see me. Don't worry about it. Okay. It should be centering itself back to the middle now. Ow. I hit my chair with my vaccinated shoulder. I don't think it can see me over here. Now, if we're very careful and patient, I love that little gentle pan where it's just like, there he is. I got him. I got him. This would be super cool on all things Apple. I agree. CenterStage is wonderful. It's not super functional, but it's kind of awesome. Let's see. You said my last name wrong. Pinned Pie? I don't know. You got to explain. There's too many names. Kyle. If I had $1 for every time someone said Tailosive incorrectly, I would probably have like $63 or something like that. Can you do push-ups? I can, but you don't want to see that. That would be ugly. The camera quality isn't great because it's live, for part of the reason. For those who don't know, via live broadcasts, there's a lot of compression that goes on YouTube's end. So this app, I'm streaming directly from the YouTube app, and this is very frustrating to me. I don't know why YouTube decided to do it this way, but if you want to live stream like I am right now from the iPad Pro, you basically have to make sure you have over 1,000 subscribers. They won't allow mobile streaming from your phone or your iPad unless you exceed 1,000 subs. So it was actually kind of difficult to figure out how I'm going to test this, because I wanted to make sure it was going to work before I went live on my official Tailosive Tech channel. And I was like, oh crap, I can't do this on my private channel because it doesn't have 1,000 subscribers. I don't know why YouTube restricts it like that. I think it's kind of stupid. But the YouTube app basically caps out the resolution at 720p, which means if you stream from the iPad like this, you cannot broadcast at a higher resolution than 720, even though, trust me, when I film from the front-facing camera from the iPad Pro, it looks, whoa, did it see another face? Why did it get all wide like that? Is there a ghost in here? Okay, maybe we got a ghost in here. But essentially, when you live stream something, you kind of axe a lot of that resolution and a lot of that quality. So if you watch my video from a couple days ago that I filmed on the iPad Pro, and then you go into quality settings, which YouTube made all complicated and annoying now, and you crank it up to 4K at 60, you can see how great resolution the camera could be. You can see how much detail the iPad cameras have in them. In fact, I was very impressed with the rear-facing cameras on the iPad Pro, and I wish that on the ultra-wide lens, they would let you use CenterStage to, like, if you want a high resolution image. Like the front-facing camera, even on these new iPad Pros, maxes out at 1080p, which is pretty good. I've done some videos with the front-facing ultra-wide camera, and it's still limited to 1080 at 60, which is not terrible, but absolutely, whenever you live stream like this and you're doing a broadcast, it has to compress that file, upload that file, and we're still using Starlink internet, by the way, which is in beta, so there might be a few laggy points. The connection might be a little bit unstable, but it should jump right back as soon as the dishy McFlatface finds itself a satellite. But just to warn you guys, there could be a couple of frame drops here and there. Probably right as I'm mentioning it. That's usually when it fails. Sean Hutchinson, thank you for the super chat. Luna display to make iPad touch display for Mac. I don't really care about touch on the Mac because macOS is clearly, to me at least, some people disagree, but I find that Macs are clearly optimized for keyboard and mouse and not touch, and I don't think just adding a touch screen would fix that. However, I think the iPad clearly has the hardware to boot into macOS, and the more and more I use the iPad Pro, the more and more I wish they would just throw macOS on here. That would be wonderful. Kyle, thank you for the super chat again. Put it on stream the whole night. We're gonna stream the whole night. How far down can it go? Ooh, look at this. Come on, iPad, follow along. There's a bunch of boxes here. I'm sorry for the messiness. Here's the old iPad Pro. Who wants this hunk of junk? But something I found pretty interesting, thanks to CenterStage, is that it's not a biometric, right? It's just looking for faces and heads, which means that if I put cringy portrait mode Drew on the iPad, opposed to cringy real life Drew, it will try to keep both of us in the frame. It's like, oh, no, that's not a real Drew. But then I bring it back, and it's like, oh, wait, yes, it is. That's a real Drew. We have to keep both faces in the frame. So if I put one, if I'm way up here, it's like, oh, there's no other faces to worry about. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, there is. There's a face down here, CenterStage. There's an imposter among us. That's a little sus. There. Now you guys can kind of get an angle on how ultra wide this thing actually gets. Oh, it decided that face wasn't real. Kind of trippy. Chris Norton says he loves CenterStage. I want to stream at 1080p. I really do, but it won't let me. Like the app, the software is the limiting factor. Again, if the iPad ran macOS, I could stream at 1080p. I could stream at 4K from the rear-facing camera on this thing. But it don't got macOS. All it does is cropping animations. Yes, but it's very, very good at it, right? It's on personal cameraman. That's all really a cameraman does, right? Crop animation. You can do it. You can do it. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. I know that the stream is lagging. Are we back? Starlink will do that from time to time. It just happens while it's in beta. They've been getting a lot less frequent lately. Let's see. Is Tailosive Tech your own business? Yes, it is. Thanks for asking. Will the iPad Pro replace the MacBook Air? It depends on what you're doing with it. If they let you boot macOS onto the iPad, absolutely. It could do everything the MacBook Air does. Pretty much. I mean, with the keyboard case, you've got 2 USB-C. Charging, you don't have 2 input methods, but the Thunderbolt port on the iPad Pro is so fast you could attach a dock to it, whatever, get everything back. Let's see. It happens when it is requiring a satellite in space. Yeah, well, when you're on beta, they're not out of beta yet. Once they're out of beta, if they're still lagged, then I'll complain. But they said during the beta period to expect certain delays or certain dropouts of connectivity. Let's see if the iPad can still see the other Drew. It's like, hey, a face. Wait, there's no face. Focus on me. That's hilarious. It looks like the Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained. Here, let me go ultra wide again. It's like, hey, Drew, we know you don't have macOS on the iPad, but we'll give you a super ultra wide front facing camera. You will? Which iPad do you have? The mini LED 12.9 inch 128 gig iPad Pro. Jeez. I'm going to have to put that in a banner across every video because people keep asking. Dark Lord of the Simp super chatted. Wonderful name, by the way. Put the soundproofing back in between the boxes. Well, I would, but literally 8 billion people asked me to change them because the soundproofing tiles were not symmetrical and they were bothering people's OCD, so I never stopped getting comments about it. So I was like, okay, if we don't like the soundproofing tiles, I'll just get rid of them. That's fine. I'll do it. My birthday is tomorrow. I'm turning 18. Congratulations, Kyle. Happy birthday. Let's see. Should I sit down? I don't know. We've got a few new people in here. I thought I would show the new people the peekaboo mentality. Let's try it. Let's try it. Okay. I'll get over here. Just for the new people, I wanted to show this CenterStage trick. Okay. If I go off screen, it will naturally go back to a centered view like that. There you go. And now I'm going to be really secretive. You don't see me. You can't see me. But then, out of nowhere, it's like, there it is. And what's interesting is I think it tracks your head, not your face. So if I'm turning around like this, I think it kind of tracks. Yeah. Even when I'm not looking at the iPad, it's like, I must follow him. I must follow him. Haha. Interesting. All right. They should work for the back cam, but sadly it does not. I know. I wish it did. Tim Cook should have done this as a demo. It's wonderful. Yes, I'm married. I've been married for 2.5 years. Does it track other things too? It can track any face, basically. I can't think of it. Won't track my hands. So like if I get up like this and I go off camera and it just goes back. If I bring my hand out like, hey, happy llama, sad llama, confused llama, it won't track the llama. It's looking for my face. So when the face enters the picture, I just try to look as creepy as possible. Just somebody super chatted. I don't know who that is. Just somebody. But yeah, it'll if you bring up a face of some kind, it'll track. See? Whoa. I like how scared the portrait mode shot is. But if I take it away, it's like back to me. Now look at him. What's wrong with him? Nobody knows what's wrong with him. Yes, it can track a picture of your face. Appreciate the super chat. This is the iPad mic, although this does support external microphones. So if we're done playing around with CenterStage and just kind of moving around like this, I can actually plug this microphone into the iPad, but there's not many sound preferences, so it'll sound like really, really loud at first. Well, not at first. I can tune it down from the Zoom mic itself. Drew is Old Spice. Let's see. Make this your new video style for tech videos instead of standing sitting. That's the weird thing. The camera app, I don't think supports CenterStage. Like, I don't know if I can just record a video with CenterStage on. I know I can utilize it from FaceTime and Zoom and YouTube and stuff, but I don't know if I can just record a video off it. You should plug it in. I want to see if it'll work. It does work. It's just for some reason when I plug it in to the iPad, it's substantially louder than it is on my Mac. So I had to turn down the volume channels on my mic really, really loud. Quack Quack adapter, not a sponsor, but they make good USB-C accessories. You could use an audio interface to adjust the line level. That's what I do. I'm way ahead of you, Max. That's what this thing is for. I've had this microphone for a really, really long time. But just so everybody's comfortable and knows that I'm not lying, I'll plug it in here so you guys can hear the audio switch over. It should be able to... One sec. Okay. I'm on battery power, by the way. I'm not even... This battery could die as we're live. That's what we call bad planning, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a second here.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you tell it's from the new mic? Is it working? It's a good ghost detector, yeah. If there's a new face, people are saying crisp. Someone said ew. Yeah, we can tell. So you can. This is now being plugged in directly to the iPad Pro. You can use an external microphone. It's not super loud, but that's because if I put it at my normal level, people are saying better. It's much quieter. I can turn it up. Don't worry. Hold on to your headphones. I know there's a lot of white noise too. This is part of the reason I still want macOS on the iPad is because there's like no way to adjust the sound preferences on external microphones. And that's part of the reason I decided to not have the external mic when we started the stream. But I did want you guys to know I thought about it. What can they do to improve the iPad Pro hardware? A glass back and another Thunderbolt, more cameras, but what else? I don't have a lot of complaints with the hardware personally. I don't think that there's a lack of... I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind some more Thunderbolt ports. A glass back is kind of unnecessary because the iPad Pro is not going to get wireless charging anytime soon. I thought it did originally, but then AirPower turned into a nightmare, so I was like, why use a stationary mic with CenterStage? Exactly. That's why I chose to not start the stream with the external mic. I can still unplug this and it'll go back to the iPad mic whenever. But iPadOS is the limiting factor. After doing a lot of video editing off of the iPad Pro, trying to do these live streams off the iPad Pro, iPadOS is basically getting in the way of some incredible hardware, and there are solutions to these bottlenecks, and they're all on macOS. And I think that it's going to take way too long to bring all of these macOS features to the iPadOS platform, and it would be a lot quicker and a lot easier and a lot faster if they just opted for, hey, let's just throw macOS on there as an optional thing for some higher-end iPads. You don't have to bring it to every iPad. You can make it restricted just to the M1, or you can make it restricted just to a certain SSD size. I don't care. If you want to bring it to the lower storage configurations, I'm not against that. That's fine. I'm just saying macOS on the iPad in some way, shape, or form. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what restrictions there are, just to the iPad so that we can use all of the macOS productivity features that iPadOS doesn't have. What happened to your iPhone 12 mini? Why did it think it should charge? I don't know. It's a bug. Other people said they got that bug. Will using a glass screen protector on iPad still allow pencil to work? I don't use screen protectors, so I'm probably the absolute worst person in the world to ask about that. But I'm guessing yes, I think. Do you prefer macOS or iPadOS? macOS too buggy in my opinion. No, I don't experience that many bugs with macOS myself, having used it I'm sorry. It's so distracting seeing how well CenterStage moves with my head. Ooh, I lost it for a second. I got rid of it. macOS is not buggy in my experience, but the applications in the Pro class, being able to plug in external cameras and being able to code and terminal logic applications and external monitors, being able to attach all these different and have different monitor settings. There's so much more macOS can do. iPadOS is just the basics. iPadOS cannot do some more heavily advanced stuff that, like, it's the reason that an iPad can't replace my Mac is just because of iPadOS. An iPad could easily replace my Mac if it booted into macOS, which some would argue that turns it into a Mac. But personally, I'm fine with a piece of hardware that allows us to use two very capable operating systems, because I love using the iPad just as an iPad. I love using it for social media and for checking email, for watching content, the whole touch interface. iPadOS is great, but it just is missing this huge laundry list of things that macOS can do. And I don't think it's just going to be 1 year where, oh, now iPadOS can do everything a Mac can. I don't think it's just going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take years and years and years. It wouldn't cannibalize Mac sales because iPads, especially the 13-inch mini LED iPads, are more expensive than Macs, and there's a lot more to upsell people on. Oh, there's like a spider right there. Hey, where'd you go? Can you guys see that? There's like a spider. Jeez, the compression was probably too bad. I was just like looked over here and the spider was coming down. I was like, what the heck? Let's see. Maybe macOS on the iPad, but with some limits. I'm okay if they restrict it and make it like you have to buy this and you have to buy this. That's fine. Isn't Apple all about cannibalizing their products back in the day? Exactly. They're not afraid of cannibalizing their products. The iPhone cannibalized the iPod, and the iPhone was more expensive than the iPod, but in the same way, iPads can be a lot more expensive than MacBooks, especially because these newer iPads are M1 chips. So if you want another, let's say we got the MacBook Air, right, with a keyboard, Touch ID, trackpad, 13-inch display. If you wanted the iPad alternative, let's just say Apple on June 7th announced, okay, all new M1 iPad Pros can now boot into macOS mode if you want. It's not a required thing. It's not like they run macOS right out of the box. No, they still run iPadOS. It's just an optional thing in settings. You can say, hey, I feel like using this one macOS feature that iPadOS doesn't have, so I'm going to dual boot, just like Boot Camp on the Mac, and I'm just going to boot it up into macOS mode. And if they let you do that on just the M1 iPad Pros, and you're like, okay, I want another 13-inch laptop instead of a MacBook Air, now you got to buy an $1,100 iPad Pro, but that's only 128 gigs. So to match the MacBook Air, which starts at 256 gigs, that's another $100. So now it's a $1,200 iPad, and that doesn't even account for the keyboard and trackpad. So if you really want to match the MacBook Air with having 256 gigs and a keyboard and trackpad, now you got to spend another $350 on that keyboard case. Before you know it, now it's a $1,500 iPad, and you haven't even bought an Apple Pencil yet. So now Apple's going to say, oh, well, it's an iPad. You really should get an Apple Pencil. That's amazing. $130 Apple Pencil. You can make so much more money off of upselling people iPad Pro features than you could just saying that, oh, I'll just be fine with a MacBook. So I don't think it would cannibalize Mac sales because it's objectively more expensive than Macs. So yeah, they're better than Macs because you have these mini LED display, you got Face ID, 120 hertz, you got cellular options. You can upsell people on 5G with the iPad. You can't upsell people on 5G with a MacBook. There's no cellular option. So the iPads have all of these great hardware features that are better than a Mac, but more expensive. The idea being that if someone is willing to spend $1,500 or $2,000 or more on an iPad, they should have the option to turn it into a Mac if they feel like it, when they feel like it. If you want to opt it back to an iPad, that's fine. You'll have that option. You can switch back and forth depending on what you want to do that day. But maybe just when you're docked to an external monitor, it's like Samsung DeX, right? When you dock it with power and a video output, which we've got the Thunderbolt port, that outputs into Mac OS. So now when you dock the iPad to a desk, now you've got fully fledged Mac OS. It's still being powered by the M1 chip. You've got all that great performance, but now you've also got Face ID, 120 hertz, and all the great things the iPad has to offer. Just one product doing so much, but yeah, that one product is going to be a lot more expensive, sure. I want to see an Apple Studio, the Apple version of Microsoft Studio. I would love that too, yeah. Let's see. Video seriously look better than the iMac? Oh, I doubt that. But will macOS only come on the M1 Max? What do you mean? Yes. We don't need iPad OS on the Mac. New viewers didn't get a chance to see CenterStage demo. Okay, do you want me to do it again? Because is that fun? I think it's fun. Let me turn off this microphone here.
Now it should opt back to the iPad microphone. Can you still hear me? Do I sound different? Oh, you meant M1 iPads? Yeah, I'm fine with it being restricted to M1 iPads. That way you could say, like, iPad Air can't do Mac OS. Mike said ew both times. What the heck? I switched to the external mic. He was like, ew. Switched to the iPad mic. He's like, ew. He's just disgusted by my face in general. I think that's probably it. Okay, you sound great. They would lose customers that buy one of each. I don't think that's a common thing, Michael. I don't think there's a bunch of people saying, I need to buy a MacBook Air and I need to buy an iPad Pro with a Magic Keyboard case. It's not people buying both. People are buying one or the other. I've seen it in my live streams and in comment sections all the time. There's all kinds of people that are just like, should I get an iPad Pro with a Magic Keyboard or should I buy a MacBook Air? You know, which do I opt for? And I'm always like, well, if there's some weird feature that macOS has that the iPad doesn't get them, you got to stick with a Mac. But if you're just using it for basic media consumption, just stick with the iPad. It's way more fun and has way better hardware. And there's a bunch of techies in the chat here. I know there's a bunch of you guys watch Tailosive Tech. You're the type of person to buy a MacBook Pro and an iPad Pro, but I don't think that's most. I don't think Apple's going to make more money by encouraging people to buy a high-end iPad Pro and a high-end MacBook. I think they would get a lot more money out of consumers' products if they were selling a device that was $1,500 to $2,000 and it could do all the things an iPad could and all the things a MacBook could. And you couldn't get that for less than $1,500. Because that way all of the machines below $1,500 still have a market. They still have MacBook Air. They still have, even the MacBook Pro would be cheaper if you care about the touch bar, but that's probably going away soon. What a bold assumption to assume I watched Tailosive Tech. Okay, I'll go over here. We've got to reach the edge of the display here. If I go right off, nope, you can't follow me. Center yourself. CenterStage, you can do it. There you go. All right, comes back. Very good. Now I'm going to hide. You can't see nothing. And then, just when you least expect it. It found me. It finds me. Okay. This is cool, though. I gotta say. Especially if I was delivering a keynote. This is probably the coolest feature. Is just like walking around, showing you guys stuff. Yeah. That's right. I can fit. Ew! It's gross. Okay, never mind. This way. It's like I'm shopping. Can it see me if my face is behind the box? That's the real question. The Tailosive imposter is sus. What's funny is there is an app that lets you run a Linux terminal on the iPad, but we can't run macOS. Dang it! Come on! Why do you have so many channels, Drew? Why? Oh, because if I uploaded everything I ever made onto one channel, people would get annoyed very quickly. It always annoyed me when there were channels that uploaded all kinds of crap to just one dedicated place. I was like, I didn't subscribe for this. I subscribed for your tech videos. I didn't want to see movie reviews or whatever people do. So I just figured if you want to watch everything I make, you can just subscribe to all the channels. It's not that hard. They're always in the featured channels tab. You can just subscribe to all of them if you're like, I want to watch whatever he makes. I don't care what it is. Or if you don't care about everything I make, maybe you're not interested in EV videos, or you're not interested in my vlogs, or you're not interested in gaming or movie reviews, I just want tech, so I'll just subscribe to tech. Pick and choose what you want. It's easy that way. Okay, if I cover my face. Ha! I fooled it. It didn't see my head. Favorite Apple product of all time? iPad Pro from 2018 is still probably, I think, like unmatched in regards to how many great upgrades and how many great changes they made in a single year. That was incredible. How come it's acting like the chair is a person? Does it think there's a face here? Ooh, someone's in the chair. Why doesn't it just focus on me? Stop that, CenterStage. You're freaking me out. Can we just zoom in? Interesting. Oh no, I'm gonna get copyright claimed for that. All right, look over here, CenterStage. Now don't look at me. Sus. Wonderful. That's beautiful. We got a super chat from just somebody, whatever his name is. The fact that they didn't care about rebranding the M1 CPU for iPad, which would normally be the Apple way, seems promising for macOS on iPad. I would hope so. There were so many people, I remember. I'm getting those vibes again. There was so many people that kept telling me, Drew, they're not going to put the M1 chip. M stands for Mac. They would not put that in an iPad Pro. They're going to give the iPad Pro an A14X chip because that's what the iPads are used to. And also, I was in that same boat for a while too. I was like, why does it think the chair is alive? I'm going to kill the chair just so it can't mess around with CenterStage. I kept thinking to myself, like, they would never give a trackpad to the iPad because that would make it a laptop. And Apple already sells a laptop called a Macbook. And then they gave a trackpad to the iPad. And I was like, okay, now the iPad's a laptop, basically, because they have now created a way for you to completely use every aspect of the iPad design without ever touching the display. You can use an iPad exclusively through the trackpad and keyboard if you want to. It's still a touch-dominant operating system, but you know the touchscreen has become optional thanks to the Magic Keyboard case. You don't have to use it if you don't feel like it. So, Thunderbolt, it's got Type-C. What is the holdup? What is stopping them? They could have such an amazing piece of hardware. Sorry for the lag. I see it lagging. It'll fix itself. Give it a moment. I know when the stream's lag. There's nothing I can do. What do you want me to do? Fly up in space and position the satellites back where they... It's the Dishy's looking for a satellite. Give it a second. When the Starlink is Drew just Bane Batman to the chair graphic. Yeah, we don't want to get this demonetized. So many hints, but so much doubt as well. I would be so happy. In fact, if they announce on June 7th that we can boot macOS onto our iPads, they're not going to, by the way. But I hope you guys can differentiate what I want from what I predict. Those are two very different things, okay? I very much want macOS on the iPad as an option. I'm not saying abandon iPadOS, just make it a dual boot thing. But I am predicting they will just tinker iPadOS further this year. That's my prediction. I don't think they're going to do macOS on the iPad because Apple's going to say, no, macOS only on Macs. That's weird. Too bizarre to have two operating systems on one hardware. That's too much. We can't do that. So I'm predicting they're just going to do some tinkering with iPadOS. And maybe we get some pro applications, but I imagine them still being somewhat nerfed because they have to optimize them for touch and also being behind some kind of stupid subscription paywall of you got to pay $10 a month to use Final Cut. I don't want that. After using LumaFusion, I was like, okay, Final Cut is not the limiting factor. I would love Final Cut on the iPad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against any pro apps coming to the iPad, but I know that I could do the video editing I need to do from the iPad. But iPadOS is not letting me do ProRes. It's not letting me do external cameras. It's not letting me have sound preferences and settings. It's not having scalable external monitor support. There's all of these little issues that stacks up. Ooh, Baghira says, love your videos, have a beer on me. Well, I'm only 19, sir. I'm not allowed to drink. No, I'm kidding. I can drink. I just don't care for beer as much. There's been some beers No, that's a lie. I didn't like that beer. I just pretended to. Most customers could not clearly articulate the difference between iPadOS because they don't even think about it that much.
They could not. Yeah, iPadOS and iOS are just way too close together. Will probably just be widgets on the home screen, the app library, and whatever comes to iOS 15. I think that's the fundamental flaw. That's the issue. iPadOS keeps restricting itself to whatever iOS is, and it can't really do much more than that. iPad has weird angles when in desktop form. Would love if CenterStage fixed the angles and kept you centered. Well, it could be partially YouTube's fault, to be fair. They have to crop in a little bit. Um, let's see. Thoughts on the new rumored iPod Touch? I don't. I like Mike. My disappointment is immeasurable. I don't understand why the iPod is still a thing. Frankly, there's so much. There's like you can get a refurbished iPhone for cheaper than an iPod Touch, and it will be better than the iPod Touch in pretty much every way. I don't know why they keep it around or how many people. I would love to see the sales. I want to figure out how many people are still buying iPod Touches. Jeremy, I've seen people bring that up, but I've never seen it in person. They're like, oh, business people use iPod. Everyone uses either a notepad, which is far cheaper than an iPod Touch, or they use an iPad to take notes. I've never once been to a single business. Let me know in the chat if you guys know of a business that uses iPod Touches for note taking. But that still feels like a weird market to keep the iPod Touch around. There must be a fair amount of buying for Apple to keep making it. I don't think so. Okay, so Jeremy says, I see waiters use iPod Touch. Okay, that's Jeremy. Tahir says, yes, we can hear and see you well. He must be very behind. He better hit the live button. This is both an Apple CenterStage demo and a SpaceX Starlink demo. Well, I've been using Starlink exclusively for the past 3 months, so I guess my whole life. I think laptops aren't going to be huge in the future, desktops as well. I think in the future we're going to use our phones and dock them. You could pretty much get away with it now. Yeah, you kind of could. Samsung DeX is kind of heading that way. Would it be possible that Apple thinks laptops are on the way out? The constant improvement each year on iPad seems like the iPad is the future long term. Well, if they think laptops are on the way out, why don't you just port macOS over to the iPad then? They're probably keeping it for nostalgia. That's what I think. I think Apple's like, it's not costing them much to keep it around, and Apple doesn't want to have the headline that Apple killed the iPod. They don't like that headline, and the iPod holds a special place in their heart. I don't think they're keeping it around just because so many people are buying iPod Touches. Otherwise, they would be upgrading it a lot more frequently than they are. If there is a new iPod Touch, I think it's just going to be a spec boost. I don't buy the rumors that they're going to redesign it in some way and give it some iPad Air white bezel treatment. Like, I've been wrong before, but I don't see that happening. I don't think the iPod Touch is a big enough market for Apple to consider bringing some kind of revamped design to it. If they are going to keep it around, they'll just slap a underclocked A12 chip in there just so they can say, okay, it still runs the latest iOS. I don't think. At the same time, though, I could see them discontinue it any day now, and it would make perfect sense to me. If tomorrow we woke up and Apple was like, okay, iPod Touch while supplies last, we're going to sell out our inventory and then we're done with it, I would not be shocked at all. I'd be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. iPhones have taken over the market. I've seen 6-year-olds with iPhones. I don't think iPod Touches are a huge market. If you want your kid to have an iOS device, most parents or whatever are just giving them their old iPhone. They're not buying a specific iPod, or they give them an iPad. That way they can't hide it in their pockets. And if they're using a device, it's very obvious. They can see it. If the iPod Touch is discontinued forever, that's fine. iPhone is much better. It killed it off a long time ago. Is it amazing that even iPhone is plenty powerful to run macOS? It could probably do basic stuff if they wanted it to. If they wanted to turn the iPhone into something that you could dock with a display and then have it power macOS, yeah, I could. I mean, it's not a new feature. Samsung's been doing that for years. It's just Apple has much better silicon than Samsung does. And also Apple has a much better desktop operating system than Samsung has access to. So if you could boot macOS off your iPhone when plugged into an external monitor, that'd be pretty sweet. That'd be awesome. DJ Mark says, if I could run my DJ hardware software on my iPad, it would be backup mostly. Still want 16-inch MacBook Pro this year. If for nothing else, the screen upgrade over my 2012 and the larger than 12.9-inch screen. Yeah, that's something else I wouldn't mind if Apple decided to make a bigger iPad Pro. If you guys recall, last year I did a video called iPad Pro Max Concept, where I came up with this 16-inch iPad with 4 Thunderbolt ports and bigger size keyboard case and everything. Like, I'd be down. If there was a bigger iPad, I would totally be for it. But allowing people to have the option to switch it to macOS when they feel like it, I think would be awesome. Do you think the inevitable folding iPhone will be marketed as a productivity device? I don't think it's inevitable, Jarek. I think it will be not so much productivity based. It'll be mostly just, here's a device that can run iPadOS and iOS simultaneously. If you open it up, it's like an iPad mini, and it's just going to be the same social media and email apps you use as before, but with a bit more screen real estate. And then when you fold it up, it's an iPhone. But I don't think it's inevitable. I still think there's a chance that we never see a folding iPhone. There could be one, but I don't think it's like a 100% certain we will get one. I'm in that weird group that likes the 11-inch. There's no MacBook in that form factor. There used to be. My sister had the 11-inch MacBook Air for a while. But yeah, I know a lot of people that like the 11-inch. In fact, Mac Rumors did a few polls to see what most people were buying iPad Pro-wise. And they saw like 60% of people buying the new iPad Pro were still getting the 11-inch over the mini LED version. Although I bet there's a bunch of people that didn't even know about mini LED. Having seen it in person and used the iPad Pro now with mini LED, like, I notice it, but it's because I'm looking for it. Like, same thing with the screen edge bleeding some people were commenting on. I only notice the screen, like, getting darker along the edges when I specifically look for it. I don't see it. And average consumers, I don't think will tell the difference between mini LED and just a normal liquid retina. Like, I did a test just because I was curious to see what happened with my wife, because usually we watch TV and stuff on her breaks in the bedroom, and we usually watch it on the iPad. And I've been using the M1 iPad Pro with mini LED in there a few times, and we were watching our show, and we were watching our screen, and she didn't notice the higher contrast ratio or anything. She didn't notice the black bars. I noticed them, but I'm looking for it, and I've read about it, so I'm like, oh, mini LED, this is it. I can tell, but when she was looking at it, she didn't comment on it. And then afterwards, I was like, did you notice that, the black bars were a lot darker in the contrast ratio? And she was like, oh, this is the new one? Oh, okay. It's like darker in there anyway, so it's not like the space gray was super obvious. But still, I could tell that she didn't notice. And then because I was curious, we watched content off the mini LED display for like a week. And then, well, not a week yet. It's just now been a week. It was like 3 or 4 days. And then yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever, I switched the keyboard case to my old iPad Pro. And I put this in the Magic Keyboard case back with the traditional old LCD display. And then we started watching a show. The show was shot at 16:9, so there's big black bars. And I could notice it. Whenever I pick up my old iPad Pro now, even if it was a blind test, I could tell which one was mini LED and which one was liquid retina, because mainly I think it's a contrast ratio. It's noticing that the range of colors and range of brightness is not as noticeable on the older iPad, as you can tell by the dated camera bump. And I was like, I am starting to notice this. But I brought the old iPad Pro in there and we watched our show on it. No comment. She didn't say anything about it. So I was like, okay, average consumer probably not going to tell the difference. It's definitely a techie thing. If you're the type of person to notice dynamic range and contrast ratio and that type of thing, you'll appreciate it. But average people, I don't think care. I still think the normal display looks good. It's almost like one of those, what's it called? Laminated display on the budget iPad. It's non-laminated versus other iPads, which are laminated. If you're used to seeing a non-laminated display, you're not really going to care about lamination. You're just going to be like, well, it's an iPad. I'm used to it. But once you have a laminated display and you're used to it looking laminated, and then you go backwards, that's when it gets a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm sure you can get used to it and you can adjust eventually, but overall, it's one of those things that, like, once you have it, you notice it a lot more. Same thing with True Tone displays. Before we had True Tone, no one really cared about the blue or the yellow tint of their display. But then once they released True Tone and people started noticing it, they're like, oh, does it think there's a face over there? No, okay. I was like, why did it adjust like that? Do you wish iPad Pro had thinner bezels? I do, but I know some people like them because they prevent accidental screen touches. I wouldn't mind if they were thinner. I think that the palm rejection of iPad OS is so good that it doesn't really matter if they shrunk the bezels a bit, but they're thin enough. It's kind of nitpicking to go even thinner. I'm the same way with the iPhone. I'm like, the bezels are plenty thin, and it wouldn't really change the way I use my iPhone or my iPad if the bezels were thinner. But if they did find a way to make them thinner and it looked more futuristic and modern, yeah, I don't mind that at all. Go ahead, go for it. If it did cause a lot of accidental touches, then yeah, I would be like, okay, too thin. But I don't think it would. Apple's pretty good with the palm rejection stuff. Um, I plan to ditch the PC and buy a MacBook Pro. Just found this channel and subscribe. Thanks. Oh, thank you. There's not a lot of people hitting the subscribe button these days, so I appreciate the ones who do. Thank you. 120 hertz was instantly noticeable when I upgraded my iPad. Yeah, same here. But there's a bunch of people that can't tell the difference at all. Like Nick from the podcast cannot tell the difference between 60 and 120 hertz. My wife can't. My parents can't. But as soon as I booted up the 2017 iPad Pro with 120 hertz, I was like, whoa, the motion was super noticeable. And now I want it on everything. Like I wish the Macs had it. I wish my iPhone had it. And basically it's a very top tier feature because I love the iPad Pro and it has it and I'm very comfortable with it. So let's see. I probably would keep business as usual because they're making so much money, but I would love a dual screen accessory, kind of like the LG head from Apple. Yeah, I doubt that's ever going to happen, but Drew, iPhone and iPads have back cameras. Why doesn't Apple put back cameras on iMacs and MacBooks? Are you seriously asking why they don't put back cameras on iMacs? Do I need to answer that question? Why don't they put back cameras on iMacs? Interesting. Oh my God. iPad Pro is really sexy, yeah. My dream device would be a 15 to 16 inch iPad Pro that could run macOS in addition to iPadOS. That sounds awesome. Like those giant pear pads from, what was it? What was that show? The pear pads? It was like iCarly and Victorious. That's what it was. They had like the giant tablets. I don't think laptops will go because they have physical keyboards and trackpads. They won't replace them with screen because when it opened it will have two screens. There is iPad with this design. I think that if you're making devices that allow you to detach the keyboard and trackpad and just use it as a tablet, but you can also dock it and turn it into a fully functional laptop, like that's kind of the last, that's like the ultimate two-in-one. That's kind of what I'm pitching because the iPad Pro has all this great hardware that MacBooks don't. And I think you could make the iPad like the ultimate Apple product if it was capable of also doing everything a Mac could, but also everything an iPad could. Like combining those two devices would be perfect. Let's see. If you want to take pictures of wires, sure, get them a back camera. Do you think this year's iPhone will get in-display Touch ID? It's possible, but I don't think they'll do it. It's kind of late for them to adopt Touch ID now. Ever since they allow me to unlock my iPhone via Apple Watch with the mask on, I don't care about Touch ID at all, but I get some people still want Touch ID, that's fine. I just think if Apple were to add Touch ID back, they would do it on the power button. Just because they don't want it to be looked at as like the primary biometric. They still want you to be like, Face ID is the one and only. Get used to Face ID. But if you really, really need a fingerprint reader, okay, there's one on the button. Unlocking with masks is a godsend. I know. I wish it would always unlock when I had my Apple Watch on, especially when I'm at home. I have neighbors, but they're pretty far away. And, we have locks on our doors and stuff. And I live in a safe place. So I wouldn't mind if the phone just knew that it was home and didn't lock itself. That's totally fine. Will you ever bring back the blue walls in your studio again or the sound panels? Well, people got to understand when you complain constantly about backgrounds, it makes me want to have the most simplistic, basic backgrounds possible. So because I had to rush into that old office and set it up really quickly. I had to paint the walls fairly quickly, and I didn't do an amazing job painting them. So people are like, the paint doesn't look even, the paint doesn't look good. So people complained about the paint. So then on my next studio, I'm like, okay, no paint, I'll just do soundproofing. And then everyone complains, the soundproofing tiles aren't symmetrical, they're not even. And I'm like, okay, then I'll get rid of the soundproofing tiles. So what you eventually realize after doing this for years and years and years is that people will never be happy with the background. You can't please everyone. So eventually you just got to pick the background that results in the least amount of complaining, and then you just stick with it and you don't change it. So after dealing with paint and how annoying it is to like set out the paint stuff, and I get clothes that I have to get ruined, and I have to do several coats of paint, and I have to buy paint, I was like, I don't want to do paint anymore. Paint's too much work and it's too much of a hassle, especially after how much painting we did at the old office. So I'm like, I just want colored bulbs, because that basically turns the wall into whatever color I want, and I don't have to deal with paint, and the less amount of OCD triggering I can cause, the better. So that's what I'm going for. When Drew showed how to unlock and lock iMac on keyboard or using Figure, I was amazed. Hey, Viper's in the chat. How's it going, Viper? If Viper's here, we need to do the CenterStage demo again. I need to show this man. Watch Viper's channel if you guys haven't, by the way. He's an incredibly underrated content creator. We love Viper. Okay. Good morning. This is the CenterStage. It keeps thinking there's a face there. I swear there's a ghost sitting in the PewDiePie chair. How about I do this? All right. Get a green screen. Green screens never look good. I've used green screens before. Even when you do a green screen properly, it still looks like a green screen, which is kind of why I don't care for green screens. Okay, watch this, Viper. You gotta try this yourself. You gotta see this. If I leave the camera, right? CenterStage is gonna center itself in a second. Go back. Go back, iPad. There you go. Faster, faster. It's gonna recenter itself because I'm outside of view. Now watch this. If I go down, they can't see me. I am invisible to CenterStage. It's like, I have found him. And that is fantastic. And it tracks your head. So even if I'm looking the other way, it kind of lost me a little bit. It's looking for my face, but it does its best. I'm having way too much fun. Viper does have the new iPad. Good. Green screens are so 2014. I agree. They never look good to me. Even when you get the lighting just right and you got the masking and the keying of green screen just perfect, it still looks like a green screen. You could just look at someone with a background and be like, oh yeah, that's a green screen. I can tell. And I don't care for that. It also just adds a bunch of steps to the editing process. I'm like, no, I'd rather just have a background. He once spoke about how Apple doesn't have enough parts. Oh yeah, that's right. Would you ever consider doing less quantity and maybe higher quality, or do you enjoy doing such frequent videos? The reason I haven't considered doing higher quality is because people make that exact suggestion lots of times. Is like, maybe do less videos that are higher quality, but no one can say exactly how to make them higher quality other than just fancy B-roll or more scripted content. And I've done scripted content before, and I don't think it's as good. I did not experience as good of views as authentic, genuine conversation videos. If I were to just script everything and just read it off a teleprompter, you sound less genuine and you sound more fake to me. And there's a lot of channels that do the scripted content, and it's not that they're bad, it's just it's a different vibe. I don't care for the I'm reading a page right now. It just sounds like an article that someone wrote and now they're talking out the article. It sounds like dictation. And if we're just talking about B-roll and a higher quality footage, there's so many tech channels on YouTube that are already doing, I make high quality tech videos. I use this fancy camera, and then I'm not going to be able to compete with those guys because, there's amazing content creators like MKBHD, who's wonderful, or there's Dave 2D, or there's Linus Tech Tips, or there's Austin Evans, or there's John Morrison. All these guys who have spent tens of thousands of dollars on camera equipment and sliders and all of that high resolution content production. I'm not going to be able to compete with that. And I'm just going to add to the noise of like, oh, that's just what we need. Another super high quality B-roll channel that just has minimalistic talking. Like, I don't think that would be more interesting. I don't think people would like that more. And that's why I also don't really care for working like for weeks on a single video, because I'm going to get bored of the subject within a week. I'm more about I'm not so obsessed with the content production side of things. I'm more interested in the ideas of tech, of like why macOS on the iPad is a good idea, or why differentiating the Pro iPhones from the entry level iPhones matters more. That's where most of my mind spends time thinking and focusing. What's Apple going to do next? Because I've always been very interested in the latest and greatest technology. It's part of the reason I don't do a lot of videos on old tech, or focus on iPhone 4 in 2021 or that type of video. Like, I'm interested on the bleeding edge, like what's the latest generation stuff, and also talking about what's Apple going to do next, and leaks and rumors, and what's potentially going to come out next year. What's Apple's plan for the 32-inch iMac, and what's Apple's plan for the Mac Pro. All of that stuff. I don't know how to make super high quality rumor videos because I don't have super high B-roll to shoot of anything. It's not out yet. And a lot of the channel is talking about stuff that's not out yet. So people all the time always do the suggestions of like, do less videos, but make them higher quality. I'm like, well, how? How do we make them? I think a lot of people are insinuating that just because you take longer on a video, that makes it higher quality. I don't share that belief. I believe that you can put fairly little time into a video that's very interesting and very engaging just by making it funny, or just by bringing up points that people don't think about, and you don't have to put a ton of time into it. There's this like common misconception that if you spend all this time working on a video, that will suddenly make it better, where the truth is you could spend a week working on a video that's less interesting than what someone comes up with in an hour. And I'm the type of person that's like, I want to talk about other stuff. I don't want to spend a week on one subject. I'm going to want to talk about something else tomorrow. And I'm going to want to talk about a different subject in the next couple days. So that's why I'm going to talk about one subject basically a day for tech. Time consumption doesn't equal quality. So I'm the type of person that's like, I have an idea. I have a subject that I want to get my thoughts out about. So I'm going to document them, and I'm going to throw it out on the internet, and hopefully people find it interesting or entertaining. And then tomorrow I'm going to try to find something else. I don't want to think about one subject or one topic for a week long and dive into making like a documentary type thing. It's like, there's not that many tech subjects that I think work great in that documentary format. I don't know if Viper is still here, but check this out. It'll track your iPad face too. It's like, oh, there's another Drew I have to motion track. Now you can see how wide angle this gets. Come on, iPad, you can go wider. You can do it. Go wider, go wider. Now this is quality content right there. Oh, it decided I unsubscribed from Blindness just because of his overwhelming amount of sponsors. Yeah, I also pay for YouTube Premium to avoid ads. I kind of think that there's too many channels doing sponsored content. I'm not against sponsored content. It's fine. I get that creators got to make money. I just think that there's a certain volume of sponsors that can get too frustrating and too far. And because I'm comfortable with my lifestyle and I don't need to make a ton of money, and I'm perfectly happy with the amount of money, I think I'm overpaid, to be honest with you. I think I make more money than I deserve, because I just mainly enjoy having a community of people to talk to, because I'm interested in tech and I like talking about the latest and greatest technology. But in my personal life, in my personal social sphere, there's not that many people that are interested in the same things I am. There's not a lot of people in my personal life that I can talk about M1 chip and mini LED and the Apple Silicon iMac. There's not a ton of people that I can talk to. So I'm doing this mainly because I love just interacting with you guys and love having a community that I can bounce ideas off of. I think this is good. And then you guys go, no, Drew, you're stupid. I hate you. And I'm like, thank you very much. But I love having that community that it's not about the money for me. It's not about like, well, I could be making way more money if I told you guys about some crappy VPN I don't believe in. So I love what I do as well. I'm glad you do too, Simply Pops. So that's why I don't do sponsorships. I don't do sponsored videos because the whole message I'm trying to get across with the Tailosive content, and the reason there's so many jump cuts and I don't show myself breathing, is because I don't want to waste time. I don't want to keep you around longer than I need to. So yeah, I like to ramble and I like to go off on little side tangents so that you guys can figure out my full mental capacity on a subject or a topic. But if I start throwing in sponsored videos, now you're getting a bunch of content you didn't ask for. You didn't click on this video to hear about Squarespace or hear about a VPN. That's not why you watch. So I choose not to do that. I'm not against anyone who does it. That's totally fine. If you want to build your business and you want the income to be higher, sponsors are a great way to do that. And there's really nothing inherently wrong with having a sponsor. I just personally, as a viewer, get annoyed by it, especially with how often it is. On YouTube these days, there's so many sponsored videos, and I pay for premium because I can't stand the normal YouTube ads. So to pay money to get rid of ads, and then you watch a video and there's another ad, it just turns into cable TV all over again, which I also hate. So I'm just like, I don't want to do sponsors if I don't have to. I'm not saying I'll never do them, because if I came to a point where like I needed money to pay the bills and YouTube AdSense exploded and I couldn't make money just for free anymore, then I wouldn't be against doing sponsorships if I really, really had to. But I have yet to reach the point in my career where like, oh, I need a sponsorship, otherwise I can't keep the lights on, well, I'm going to run out of money to eat. That hasn't happened yet. So as long as that doesn't happen, I won't do it, just because I like my content to be my idea, my words, my thoughts through and through, end to end, nothing else intermixed in there. And you guys have been so supportive between Patreon and the super chats, and also just a ton of you guys watching. I don't know if you know, but that does help, especially if you guys have YouTube Premium. That helps me out a ton just by watching the videos. You don't even have to donate anything. And just from your generosity, that's allowed me to make this my livelihood. So this is what I get to do for a living. So I would much rather the content creator be supported by the viewers, not so much from the sponsors, because you can start to rely on sponsorships where sponsored insert in every video, and there's a VPN and there's a Squarespace or a Blue Apron or all the millions of sponsors you've heard, Raid Shadow Legends, whatever it is. You can start to get accustomed to having a sponsor in every video, and you'll probably make way more money than I do. And if you like money, most of us do, you'll make a ton more money. But it does give more control to the sponsors, because you start to rely on that money. You start to build your business around requiring that income. And once you start doing that, now the sponsor says, we want you to put the ad read at the beginning of the video. Now you have to say our name 3 times in the first 15 seconds. And people are like, wait, that's not what we had before. I used to put you at the end of the video. And they're like, yeah, we want to be at the beginning now. And if you don't want to put us at the beginning, we'll go find someone who will for a lower price. So then creators are like, crap, okay, I guess I'll start putting in the beginning because I don't want to lose my sponsor. I pay rent for this building based on that sponsorship, and I pay this employee based on that sponsored money. So you give them a lot of control when you start incorporating them that reliably. So the only reason I say that is not to scare anybody away from doing sponsors. If you're trying to get your channel off the ground and you want it to turn into a livelihood, sponsors are a great way to do that and accumulate a lot more revenue quicker. I just want you guys to be aware, be wary. It gives them control, and you don't want them to have too much. But Astro Chib Ham, I don't know how to say your name, but thank you for the super chat. He says, I'll sponsor you. I appreciate the offer. The super chat's good enough, I guess. Viper super chat, it says, thanks for the CenterStage demo. You're welcome, Viper. I hope this is entertaining enough for you. Sorry, my pants probably look disgusting. See, we can be like, cool, Drew background, and then it's like, ew, gross cardboard background. You can see all the boxes everywhere. It keeps thinking the chair is a face for some reason, which is honestly kind of disturbing. But if I'm like this, it can track around the room pretty well. Also, the box cancels out everything. Gotcha, CenterStage. Gross. Get that out of here. Now that looks good. That's a pretty iMac right there. I wouldn't mind if the power button was on the side, though, honestly. I kept thinking that as I was using it. Don't put your eggs in one basket, exactly. How much do you think M1X Mac Mini will cost? Probably $1,100. That's what it's rumored to be replacing, is the Intel Mac Mini. That's $1,100. The holes in the chairs kind of look like eyes. Oh my God, that's disturbing. Why would you say that? Oh, you should try using Advanced. It'll skip through the VPN ads automatically. Oh, geez. This video was sponsored by Tailosive EV. Yes, I am the sponsor. Apple needs to create their own built-in eSIM data plan. That'd be interesting. You talk fast enough that you really don't need that many jump cuts. It's all good though. I've seen that brought up a lot, but ultimately, what I think all creators should be doing, whether you're in tech, whether you're in gaming, no matter what content you're in, you should be making the content you want to watch. And ultimately, when it comes to tech videos, especially, this is the type of content I want to see. I want a video that's not going to waste my time and not leave in all these gaps or all these wasteful breathing seconds. You know, what you can never buy a second of time back. We're all going to die someday. Every heartbeat is closer to your last. You don't know when you're middle-aged, really. There's all kinds of morbid thoughts I could go off on when it comes to time. So the less time we can waste watching content and the quicker I can deliver you my thoughts and opinions without wasting time on sponsors or breathing or giving me time to be like, let me think about that, and just getting you straight information, that's how quick. That's the best. Who says he breathes? For all I know, he doesn't. Okay, Tailosive deep thoughts. And you're talking about death. Everything good? Well, if you've been watching Tailosive for a while, you know I always talk about death. That's been a thing for years. It's fun. We're all gonna do it someday, and we don't know what's gonna happen. Isn't that exciting? What happens? I think your videos are perfect for the content purpose that you're doing. How are you gonna make a Marquez video about a leak that the notch is getting smaller? Yeah. I agree. If I tried to make really high quality tech videos about the subjects that are interesting to me, it would probably not be very interesting. Tailosive chins. I enjoy your style. You make all your tech videos interesting. Do not change how you present your videos. Thank you, Dabaso. I appreciate it. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing, frankly. I'm trying to focus on making the content that I want to watch and not trying to make a bunch of videos. Thank you, Simply Pops. He super chatted, said, keep doing you. I'll keep doing me. Because frankly, like, there's a bunch of tactics and there's a bunch of channels that have grown a lot faster and a lot bigger than my channel has. And there's things you can do in your thumbnails, and there's things you can put in your title, and there's all kinds of things that other tech channels have done that grow a lot faster than me. So if you're asking about how to grow your tech channel, I'm not your guy, because my tech channel is basically stagnated now, and there's lots of people unsubscribing. I don't know why. I wish I knew why, but ultimately it's fine, because I think, you know, that I don't get 200,000 views per video, so that means there's probably a lot of people subscribing that aren't watching, which is like, yeah, I don't want those people subscribed if they don't care about the content. Only sub if you're interested. But ultimately, what it comes down to me is having a community that I enjoy hanging out with, and there's so many amazing friends that I've gotten so close to now that I enjoy chatting with and I enjoy keeping up with. And as long as I get those experiences and I have people to hang out with, or, you know, people in the Discord or people on Twitter, and as long as there's a community there, I don't care how big the channel is. Like, as long as there's someone to talk with, talk tech with, and I'm making enough to pay my bills, I'm good. I don't need to grow to 1 million subscribers, or I don't need to make a certain amount. I want to be through and through myself with my content. I want to make sure that the videos I do produce are the type of content I want to see, and I want to make sure that they're the type of content that I'm proud of. I don't want to turn into someone I'm not proud of just so that views can go up and just so that subscribers can go up. And if that's really all you care about, then that's probably what you'll get. You'll do the deceptive titles, you'll make the clickbaity thumbnails, and it'll probably work. It's proven to work for so many people. If you just care about getting subscribers and growing your numbers as much as possible, and that's really all that comes before all else, that's truly all you'll ever want, is more subscribers, more views, more clicks, more likes. But I think if your focus goes towards the community and having a solid fan base of people that you can interact with, and it's not about growth, and it's not about making the titles or the thumbnails that you to get more clicks, then you'll probably have a much more happy audience that's happy to watch you, and you'll feel more intimate, you'll feel more close to them because you're just being yourself. And it's not like watching some big brand or some big business, you're just hanging out with a friend, which is what I appreciate about my favorite YouTube content creators, and I just hope I can be that for other people. Thank you for the super chat, Isaac. AJ says, I appreciate what you do. Thank you, AJ. Would you be immortal, watching everything you've ever known, loved, hated, or otherwise grow old, wither, and die? I think that's a toughie. Would I be immortal? I think it would get old after a while. I don't know. We're going to end the stream here very soon. I know this is getting not tech related, but it's still center stage, so it's on topic. Chris Norton says, I think your videos are good. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate all your billions that you've donated via Super Chat. But I think that if you guys watched this show called The Good Place, it's not going anymore, but I really, really liked the ending of The Good Place because, well, I don't want to spoil it. Dang it. Okay, I won't spoil the end of The Good Place because if you guys haven't seen it, it's a great show. You should watch it. But basically, I'm trying to think if this is a spoiler. It's not really a spoiler. The moral of the story that you can kind of take with you about life is that death gives life meaning. If no one ever died and you couldn't die and everybody lived forever, all progress, all growth, all learning, all wealth, all possessions would kind of become meaningless because everything you can have on earth, everything you can accumulate, as we've seen with billionaires and rich people, they all start to get bored. They all start to get tired of the same old stuff. Nothing like permanently keeps you happy eternally. And the fact that we do have an end date, the fact that we do die someday makes the now more meaningful because we know we have limited time and we're not going to live forever. And that is what should encourage us to try to do better, to try to learn more, and try to make the best of our situations and try to love everybody around us and make the world a better place and kill all the white bezels from desktops. You know, it's it's the things that we should prioritize in life because we know that life isn't forever. Life would have a lot less meaning if it was infinite. Because it's not infinite, that's what makes it precious. That's what makes it valuable. So that's the way I kind of see it. Matt Holston super chatted, says, facts. I've always felt like I'm watching Drew, not watching a brand. Cheers to that. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Appa, yip, thank you. The Silver Org for the super chat. Drew went from wholesome to dictator in 10 seconds. That was 1 second. Super chat from... Oh, I got that one. You have deeper connection to your audience and that you're not afraid of being honest. I definitely won't be afraid of honesty. The Good Place is by definition perfection. That's a really good show. If you guys have not watched The Good Place, I'd recommend it. It's funny, but it's also philosophical and deep. And it's made by the people who made The Office and Parks and Rec, which I'm also big fans of. But The Good Place gets way more theological, which is interesting to me. Not that I think The Good Place is like afterlife accurate. I don't think it's like a super accurate interpretation of what happens when we die, but it does ask the right questions. Let's see. You are my favorite YouTuber and inspire me every day. Thank you, Sammy. I appreciate it. Anyway, there's a video on YouTube that someone sent their AirTag on a world tour. Have you seen this video? No, but that sounds awesome. Have you seen Afterlife? No. CenterStage works great. What's the blue place? We're in the blue place. That's what Tailosive Tech is. Welcome to the blue place. Meaning of life is death. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We're about to end the stream, so I thought I would do the CenterStage demo one last time for those who just joined in. Starlink is acting up. I'm sorry. Afterlife is good. I'll have to check that out. Okay. I'm going to put this down because it keeps thinking it's a face. Do the outro, please. Every time you ask me to do the outro, I'm going to add another 1 year to when I'll start doing it. All right. You can't see me, right? Hello. Then I come down. It centers itself. Hello. Do a backflip. No, that would be cool. Having tried it with two people, though. You can try it with two people. Just get your iPhone and put a face on it. A whole year. That's right. Everyone should sub to Tailosive Food. Actually, if we have 170 people watching this, I want to be able to do these types of streams off of the Tailosive Tech Streams channel, but it doesn't have 1,000 subscribers yet. And I'm not saying that as like a sponsor, like clickbaity thing, like let's get to 1,000. It's literally just that channel makes no money. So it's kind of hard to justify the network. So if we get that channel to 1,000 subscribers, then I can justify it as a monetizable thing. And also I'd be able to live stream from it mobily, which I can't do now. So please get the Tailosive Tech Streams channel to 1,000 and then get it to 1,000 and then unsub. That would be fine. I could link it. I don't have the link up right now. Let me see. Channels. If you okay, you guys are probably watching me on mobile. If you scroll down, tap or if you look beneath this live stream and you click the Tailosive Tech channel, and then you go on the menu bar to the channels section, you'll see Tailosive Tech Streams. You have too many channels? I know I have too many, but I don't care because if I tried to put all of these videos on one channel, they would probably lose a bunch of people. Just watch everything I make, just subscribe to all of them. It's not hard. But if I were to force feed all my videos to each subscriber, now that would be annoying. So I made my network based on what would be easiest for the viewer, not what would be easiest for me. Okay. Here's the link. Well, I posted it via Tailosive EV because that was the only way. It's not clickable? I'd probably lose people. I don't know. I'm losing people now anyway. Thanks for the insight. Hope it works out. Chip and screens are two different entities. That's true. How come the link didn't show up? Huh. If I go here, I'm live. It doesn't want to play on Safari for some reason. Let me try that. There you go. There's the link. New channel. Let's get it to 1,000. I appreciate you all for tuning in. After it gets to 1,000, I'll literally never ask you to subscribe to anything again. Don't care. But I just want to be able to live stream, and YouTube won't let me. Anyway, appreciate you all for your super chats and for tuning in. Hope you have an excellent rest of your Friday. Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in